Hello, today we are going to talk about humans' interest in discovering life beyond Earth and since when we have had this question. Humans have always had a great need to understand what is out there, always looking up wondering what exists there. The stars have always been the subject of study, texts with various purposes and varied beliefs. In this video, we will discover when humans began to think about alien life and what or when the first records were made about these questions. There are historical records indicating that we have been thinking about the possibility of making contact with life outside our planet for several hundred years. The oldest known records of speculation about the existence of extraterrestrial life date back to antiquity. Ancient civilizations such as the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Greeks believed in gods and supernatural beings that inhabited the heavens, often associated with planets and stars. More specifically, interest in unidentified flying objects has its earliest records in a period between 223 and 91 BC when both the Greeks and the Trojans reported seeing fire in the sky, or even the so-called night suns. There are possibilities that these sightings were comets, meteorites, or the popular shooting stars, but some scientists argue that these reports coincide with solar aurora cycles, which last about 11 years, which means that this is possibly what they were describing. In fact, this year 2024 we are exactly at the end of one of these cycles, where the poles of the sun reverse and solar storms tend to be stronger than usual. I will include a card at the end of this video explaining this process. But other reports, dated between 218 BC and 65 AD, mention the sight of round shields and flaming spears in the sky, which could also be confusion with a cloud, climatic events now known, or mirages. But overall, none of these records make any allusion to creatures similar to what we today believe to be some kind of alien form. So how did this concept of interplanetary life arise? The first records are from the 5th century BC when the philosophers Leucippus and Democritus created atomism, which was essentially a materialistic philosophy denying the teleological argument, that is, it argued that all phenomena have a natural cause independent of the existence of God. Democritus said that there is an infinite supply of atoms and consequently, also an infinite number of worlds. According to his student Metrodorus of Chios, it seems absurd that only one stalk should grow in a great field and that only one world should exist in an infinite space. Basically the same as Fermi's paradox, where we see the apparent contradiction between high estimates of the probability of the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations and the lack of evidence of them. Later, the Roman poet Lucretius said that nothing in the universe is unique and solitary. Therefore, in other regions, there must be other lands inhabited by different tribes of men and races of animals. For some historians, although it is surprising that ancient philosophers thought of these hypotheses, we need to remember that Democritus, for example, lived in a time long before the modern perception of the stars. In fact, these thinkers were looking at the sky and seeing far beyond their time. Several lines of thought from that time rejected the idea of thinking about various worlds, including Aristotelian philosophy. Religion also scorned any perception that did not place God at the center of all things. In fact, such thoughts were even dangerous. Until around 1440, a philosopher named Nicholas of Cusa wrote a very influential book, saying that life, as it exists on Earth in the form of men, animals, and plants, supposedly exists in other forms in the solar and stellar regions. He also said that instead of thinking that so many stars and parts of the heavens are uninhabited and that only our Earth is populated, we should suppose that in all regions there are inhabitants, differing in nature by category and all owing their origin to God, who would be the center and circumference of all stellar regions. Nicholas of Cusa also said that there was no standard by which to evaluate life outside of Earth. It could be considered that in the area of the sun there are solar beings, bright and illuminated inhabitants, and by nature more spiritual than those who may inhabit the moon. Those on Earth would be coarser and more material. For many, this is the first more concrete idea that has been recorded of human imagination about life outside of Earth. And you, what do you think about life outside of Earth? Write down there in the comments and feel free to give that like. And we'll see you in the next video.